Jesse, nice to meet you, by the way.
Oh, yeah, this is Dave. You've heard him.
Yeah. How's it going?
I've heard you plenty. Yes, buddy.
Working Fans Podcast. Cool.
Yep.
All right, here we go. Coming down 3, 2.
Welcome back for another week of the Working Fans Podcast. This is AJ. I'm the former wrestler. We've got Dave, the ultimate fan, here with us. As we do every week, our producer Joe likes to make us sound good and makes us look way more professional than we actually are. As always, you can find us on Twitter, that's @FansWorking, Facebook, Working Fans Pod. We've got email where you can reach out to us and please contact us to let us know what you think of the podcast and for any ideas that you might have. That's workingfanswrestlingpod@gmail.com. We're on Instagram where you can keep up with us at workingfanswrestling_pod. And then you can now listen to us on all major platforms, including Anchor.fm. We're on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Apple Podcasts, and you can actually check us out on YouTube. Now, it's important when you go onto the Apple Podcasts and YouTube, hit that subscribe button, give us a rating, let us know what you think so you can help us out and we can continue to do what we love and bring you guys in as fans.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Working Fans Podcast. It's your fan, Dave, and producer Joe here this week.
Bonus episode for the fans.
AJ's out doing something. I don't fucking know.
Doesn't mean he doesn't love you. He's just not here.
Just not here.
He's like your dad. He went out for cigarettes.
Yeah.
Hopefully he comes back.
No promises. Speaking of screw-ups, things we did last week. We didn't put out a 5-3-1 last week. We're not doing one this week either, folks, but we're going to explain why we didn't do one last week.
We got fire this week. Last week we just fucked up and we didn't realize that what we record on, we had an hour limit.
Yeah.
So we were going hot. As you will hear, the 5-3-1 cut off before the ending.
Yep.
So you're going to have to watch it on YouTube.
And we'll explain it.
Yeah, there'll be a little note on the YouTube video about what happened, where it finished up, but we just didn't want to put in half of a segment for you guys.
Right.
So we'll have it up on the YouTube channel.
So if you like listening to us bitch, fuck around, and talk aimlessly, you'll love that. On YouTube exclusive. All right. So, fan talk. Or as I like to call it, Zach and Jesse, because they're basically the ones that message us. Besides you, Randy, I know we didn't get anything from you this week.
Randy's in the Jimmy Evans folder right now, like big fans, but we got to feature the young lions here. So we've had a couple good questions come in, and we just wanted to talk about it.
Yep.
And we're putting it out as a special Tuesday episode because we also have an interview with Jesse from New Hampshire. Yep. And Thursday, ahead of the NWA Hard Times pay-per-view, we have 2 major interviews, and then we have our own thoughts about the upcoming pay-per-view. So keep an ear out for that coming at you Thursday.
Yeah. Special Tuesday episode. We promised Joe was only like a little buzz. He wasn't too fucked up. Jesse, I don't know. I wasn't there. Anyway, let's talk about what they got for us.
There's going to be some artful editing because some shit was said. But getting to Zach's question first, Dave, what did Zach ask you about?
I had a couple things, but one of the things, the big thing we're talking about with all these guys this week is AEW booking. And Zach in particular was asking about Omega. He wants the best bout machine back. Because right now he feels like Kenny Omega is just a guy. Now, I hear what he's saying. Like right now, I don't feel like when I watch AEW that I think, oh, that's Kenny Omega. God damn it. I got to see Kenny Omega. You know, it's just kind of like, he is kind of just there. I think they're going slow with Omega's build. I do think they have a plan for him in the future. I guess right now it's like it's Mox's turn with Jericho. And maybe Mox is going to win the title and they're going to go back to Omega Mox. Because remember, that match they had was unsanctioned and they really kind of were visiting Omega after the loss and everything too, and how hard Kenny took it. So I don't know. I don't have a good answer.
So you think it's because he's waiting on a championship opportunity?
Yeah, I do think it's something down the road. However, like if you're looking for that best bout machine right now, I don't think he's going to be booked like that. Like maybe in the next few months, but like it definitely. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I do want that guy back. But I just have this feeling we're not going to get him back necessarily right away.
When he was in between title programs in Japan, did he ever have these dull moments, would you say? Was he ever missing over there? Because I think the answer for why you don't have the best bout machine is simple. Gato is not booking him anymore.
Right.
And if you pay any attention to New Japan booking overall, if you don't, first off, watch Wrestle Kingdom, watch the Naito double title win, and then watch the last 2 years of New Japan programming where Naito came close to getting that spot, didn't get the Wrestle Kingdom headlining match last year, didn't get the Wrestle Kingdom headlining match the year before. Okada's been the champion for however long, and he has had a dominant reign, and I think that's all because of the booking. I'm not saying AEW booking is bad, but they are new to it, and Gato's been booking for how long?
Right.
And he is a master at telling stories, so I think that's where you get the difference between the Omega that we've come to love over these years and the Omega now. Maybe they're holding off on booking him. Maybe that run he's going to have against Moxley will be major. But I think the major difference is just who's doing the booking.
True. And I also throw this out there for you, too. New Japan runs, what, once a month?
Yeah, once a month, depending on the season.
Long time booking, longer matches. This booking AEW does is based off weekly television and allowing so much time.
It could be the difference in styles, too. Wrestling all that time in Japan and then coming over here. I don't know. I guess we're really going to... Yeah, it could be. There's a factor. There's a number of things that factor into this, I'm trying to say. And
I would say hang in there for Omega fans. I don't think, basically he's in AEW just to be a regular guy. He might not be where you want him right now, but I think that he's going to get there.
True. I hope so.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. Right. I don't know. In the end, maybe he's going to fucking...
Yeah, I'm nowhere near an expert, so I don't want to start commenting on this is exactly why these things are happening, but... Watching from afar, I happen to like the way New Japan stories are structured, laid out. They seem to play out well. To me, that's maybe the thing, but it's also an upstart company. You are dealing in an American style. Could be anything.
We're going into Zach's question here, his other question. He thinks, it's more of a statement, and he wants our opinion on it. He thinks that it'd be awesome to see the Revival, Harper, and Matt Hardy in AEW. Now, to be fair, too, I want to point this out, too. Zach isn't like some WWE hater or something. He just thinks that these guys would have a great impact in AEW compared to what they're doing now. I 100% agree with that. I want to tie this into something we weren't necessarily talking about, but you probably heard AEW just got an extension with TNT. I believe there's talk they might have another TV show.
They're adding another show on, yep.
So to kind of pull that all together, is this something they're going to need eventually, too? They're going to have to grab even more stars. Or do they have enough stars right now? And not to get away from Zach, too, also, what do you think that, these guys could do for the promotion?
Well, before they get to having enough stars, they have enough wrestlers. They don't have enough stars.
Fair.
And that's going to lead into one of Jesse's questions later, but you're going to need bodies with more shows. Who knows? It's still up in the air what this is going to look like. Could these be the matches from Dark going to the TV show? And maybe Dark would start pulling more of a being the elite type vibe. I don't know any details. That's just brainstorming.
Who are the stars? Who are the stars of AEW in your opinion?
Jericho, Cody, MJF, Mox.
Yeah. I think you hit it. I don't think
those are the tops. Anything else after that, you would have to start, I would think, debating their level of stardom. The Dark Order's getting some time. Proud and Powerful, Santana and Ortiz getting some time.
Omega and Bucks are there too, but I just think
that's a weird thing because I think being the owners of the company, they don't want to book themselves in too high a role,
right?
Which could also lead into problems with Omega's booking.
But Cody
not wanting to stick out.
But Cody's on fire still.
He doesn't give a fuck.
It's his promo.
Dusty would have put himself in the same spot.
But to get more on what Zach
getting
said,
back to the question.
Yeah, I would say...
Well, when you're looking at this list...
First off, the Revival.
There's two issues you got to look at. Harper has already been released from his contract.
Yep.
So that's less fantasy booking.
Right.
The Revival and Hardy are still tied in, even though I believe both are rumored to want to leave their current deal.
Yeah.
or not want to renew once it's over.
One thing Cody said that actually on, I believe it was Starcast, they were asking him a potential people he'd like to have, and he mentioned Harper. Like, Harper's a guy he's talked about.
And that's surprising because of the people on this list, I would say Harper's the least exciting to me.
Well, to me,
I'm not saying he wouldn't fit in, but I mean...
To me, the money match is the Revival and the Bucks. Before they get there, if they're going to get them, I would get the tag belts on the Bucks, and then I would have the Revival destroy these guys, and then fucking lead into some big payoff match. Because this is something people have wanted to see for a while.
Yeah, that would be a rivalry that would go on, and I've heard Hardy as being rumored to come in to be the leader of the Dark Order that hasn't been shown yet. And if you could combine the Dark Order with Matt Hardy's Broken Universe or his input, I think that would take the Dark Order up and out of the position they're in now. Not that those two guys are bad, but I don't know that they're necessarily the figureheads that you want to launch something off of. And obviously they've had a hard time getting it off the ground with those.
One thing about Hardy is I think he likes to reinvent himself too. So I don't know. A lot of people want to see him bring the Broken Universe in, but I wonder if he'd do something almost completely different.
I would be down for that too, as long as it's the free reign that he got in Impact to create that Broken Universe. I would like to see that energy go into the Dark Order, and I think that could turn things around.
100%. And the only other thing I would say, the only other hiccup and hurdle is too, because Hardy brought that broken universe to WWE, I don't know what's copyrighted now and what WWE owns and doesn't own anymore.
I would think the fact that you used it before WWE and it was the Broken Universe, and then the stuff that happened in WWE was under the Woken Universe.
Yeah.
I would think if you're trying to argue ownership, that could be that dividing line.
Right.
Because it's not like you can take Hardy's backyard from him. You can't take Hardy's garage where he's got the ring from him.
His father-in-law, his wife, his
exactly.
kids.
These are all people that I would like to think there was some kind of, kind of work in there. And I would actually like to go into, this fits perfectly into Jesse's first question. Technically his second question, but you guys don't know how the fuck we got it written down.
None of your business.
Jesse basically said that if AEW wants people to know who their wrestlers are, there should be more intricate backstories and promos.
I mean,
and I'm not saying there's not, but I think their method of storytelling is so different.
Sure.
Where you have to be watching Being the Elite.
Yes.
You have to watch AEW Dark.
The Road to
series. You gotta
series.
watch the Road to series. You gotta watch Dynamite. And it's all that multimedia landscape we're in now where not everything's gonna be on the TV show for you. A lot of people pick their stuff up from social media.
Yeah.
So you're getting the YouTube, you're getting the Instagram, you're getting all these different areas for people to spread their attention to get the whole story.
You ever watch Arrested Development? I know that's left field, but...
I have, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so they would try to play towards their hardcore fans almost, like with jokes sometimes being like kind of set up in season 1, and they don't even pay off until like season 2.
Yeah.
I feel like that's somewhat with AEW. Like for the people who watch like all the stuff, shit pays off for them. But if you're just casually watching just Dynamite, you might miss some things. So kind of agree with what you're saying here a little bit. But is that a bad strategy? I don't know.
It's a new strategy.
It's new, right.
I mean, Cornette would probably say they're killing the business, but I would argue it's a different way to exist
and they just
in an emerging platform.
And in the ratings, they literally just beat the NBA game that was on last Wednesday.
Wow.
That sounds pretty good to me.
And if you're looking at it, if they get this second show, maybe the storylines get more streamlined, the TV. Who knows what Dark becomes. I think they really only have space to grow with what they're doing. At the moment, I would say that certain people have gotten amazing backstories.
Yeah.
Certain people have been just debuted. While they've explained the Butcher and the Blade, I'm a huge fan of them, but I don't think they're getting over to the degree that they can.
No.
Just because of how things were rolled out. But I don't write TV. I just watch it and I'm a fan. But I think the stories could be made a little clearer.
Sure.
Given that so much of your roster is relatively unknown.
That would be something that was even, I was talking to, you hear this guy's name all the time, Steve from Frito this week. And one of his issues too was like with the Nightmare Collective, with Randy and everything, like Luther. He just kind of showed up for the most part. You know, he was in the background with his bald head, in a couple things, but then it was basically Excalibur saying, "Oh, that's Luther, the famous deathmatch guy."
And you would have to listen to Jericho's podcast to know
100%.
that he's a good friend of Jericho, Don Callis, Lance Storm.
I mean, yeah, he's not that popular, and basically it just looks like, hey, this guy's got a bald head. Let's throw him in there with this, group of girls who are trying to collect hair.
It was interesting that they did use him to back who?
Brandy?
No, who's that fucking Japanese girl that was coming down the ramp this week? She was almost Hikaru Shida?
Yes.
He was backing up Hikaru Shida because she would have been aware of his deathmatch persona over there, and they used it to kind of get her to show fear before she whooped the shit out of him with the kendo stick.
Right. I saw her beat his ass with the kendo stick.
But it's one of those little details that it could be explained better, and it's just not prominent. I'm not saying the storytelling isn't there, but it could be a little more black and white for people.
Sure.
Sometimes when you're feeding things to the masses, it has to be the easiest way possible for them to be able to consume it.
Right. But on the flip side of that,
But you also have to be a deep fan to know some of these things.
Biggest complaint about WWE is they treat us like we're morons. They hit us over the head with stuff constantly. God damn it, that's Bobby Lashley coming out there. Who the fuck talks like that? Or I gotta know this guy's first and last name all the time.
True, but now that we're not getting it as... Who knows? Maybe the WWE's just conditioned us to not be...
Right.
I would argue it's society in general. Like, it should be on... I would think almost anybody just... If you like something, get into it. Research it.
Sure.
You might know the periphery.
Do the work.
Yeah. But if you're not, that's where the WWE's good, and they just really feed it to you.
No, I'm just picturing Vince McMahon. They're morons. Talk to them like they're morons.
I mean, there's got to be an in-between where you can not necessarily talk to them like they're stupid, but maybe give them the background information they need.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things that it's easy to criticize somebody till you're the one doing it, and then you realize, oh shit, there's a way maybe we could roll this out better.
I mean, I want to go old school on you. I want to work more like the old school WWF days where we would just get video packages of debut and talent constantly coming.
True.
Here comes Razor Ramon, and here's like 8 skits before he actually gets in, where we see this guy bullying people.
Those days. What was the last one they gave us? Maybe Lars
God.
Sullivan before the video he put on his own, or actually the video he put out on his own came out before, but was released after.
That's the long story.
I think Wyatt was the last one that had promo videos leading up to his return.
I remember that. God, I mean, who at AEW
Liv Morgan actually just recently had
Yeah, she did. Who?
It doesn't happen as often as it should.
Isn't there someone at AEW?
Wardlow.
Yeah, Wardlow had a couple. That was not what I was definitely leaning towards.
That's not what you were thinking?
No, there was somebody I thought we saw video pack. I mean, I guess the Dark Order is getting, but they already debuted.
Dark Order's getting the most ongoing video packages, which I've been enjoying. I mean, some weeks they're not as great, but
I would argue that's my favorite part of the Dark Order. Is actually the segments.
Yeah, they're perpetuating the story of them. They're doing it in an artful way, but they're doing it from one group.
I like this random
Give me the
guy.
Butcher and the Blade videos.
Sure,
I want to see that backstory. Shit, even show me background of the Nightmare Collective. That would flesh out their characters a little more.
Absolutely. Anything else Jesse has for us here?
Jesse also wanted to ask, is everybody being booked like shit except Jericho and Cody? And I want to say no, but at the same time, I can't necessarily argue it. I think there's certain people that are getting more of a light. Jericho, Cody, MJF.
Let's throw Mox in there too.
Mox.
Yeah.
Private Party was getting it early on. I think SCU, they're probably the championships I'd say featured the least. They are doing character story stuff with Scorpio Sky, Christopher Daniels, like with Daniels kind of being out of the group a little more. But I think we're just getting used to a new style of booking.
Yeah.
We've only had WWE for so long. I think MLW sets a very high bar with how they book. These guys, they're new to the game, and they're developing their style.
I actually did see something the other day. It was on Facebook, so take it for what it's worth. But that Tony Khan, somebody was coming from there, has taken more over the reins of creative in the last few weeks. Almost since the infamous Dark Order segment. You remember the one
Oh,
with
yeah,
the
with the
punches?
missed punches.
Yeah. And if you look at the funny thing about that, and I don't put a ton of stock into viewing habits, but that was the ratings were pretty neck and neck a little bit. Most of AEW was winning, but they were losing here and there. That was the first show AEW actually lost in all the demographics since apparently Tony's took over creative, if that's true. They haven't looked back, and they've, it's only 2-3, but they've won very impressively. They're beating out NBA games. That being said, we're also getting criticism here too, but I do think the shows have really been pretty good overall the last few weeks, but there's just been
They've
these
been
glaring.
good, but to hear that Tony Khan took over creative, that worries me just on the face of it. I mean, if he's producing good TV, there's not a problem.
Took in more over the reins, I guess. Not completely, but like, yeah.
So almost like, are you talking like a McMahon overlook of things?
Right, probably, yeah.
So almost by doing that, it's almost like he's saying that McMahon type of system works. And maybe you do need a quality control expert at the top.
Right. But there is there's still, there could be a big difference between...
He's probably more understanding with McMahon and will let something that's less his creation make it out.
Right.
I don't know. I think it's still an emerging product, and I don't hate the booking, but I wouldn't say there's a lot I'm necessarily big on. Like, Jesse even said himself that they're just rounding the corner with Mox, and I'm enjoying that Moxley storyline. Mm-hmm. The tag team division, there's good matches. It just seems a little muddy to me. Same thing with the ladies division. You have some quality people in there, but nothing's necessarily sticking out to me, at least.
One thing a guy talked to me about over the weekend, I don't know his name, but a guy at Walmart too, actually. He did not like the spike in the eye segment with Jericho and Mox, just because he said it was so apparent that Jericho hit his head and face rather than his eye. And he said, I understand, and we had this, it's wrestling, and we have to pretend that he did, but he said, to me, it was obvious. If you look at it, Ross didn't completely sell it either. He was like, is that his eye? Was it his eye? He's like, I don't know. And then Tony at first was like, oh yeah, he definitely, and then Tony was like, well, I don't know, Jim. Maybe you're right. I guess I better shut the fuck up because we're not selling it.
I mean,
my point of this
I think Ross's commentary is a whole separate side issue to get into.
My point of this, though, is...
It could have been done as a sweet pre-tape. That way you get the angle over.
Right.
And I mean... How are you going to make it look like you're stabbing somebody in the eye in the middle of the
that's what was my point. Was you just can't just go throw a friggin' spike and aim for a guy's eye and try to make that. That's hard to do. And I mean, I think if you look at the old Dusty Rhodes with the Road Warriors thing, it's just what I thought of they were trying to do. They had him laying down and it looked like it, and they're kind of looked like they're driving into his eye. Obviously, they're being careful, but they were very careful how they did. But it looked more realistic. You weren't going to get that, that punch thrown. But I don't know.
It's been an issue with AEW is sometimes the things that they go to make look realistic haven't pulled off. The Dark Order punches in this. Mm-hmm. I didn't hate the spike angle, but
I didn't hate it.
It obviously.
But I knew what the guy was talking about.
It could have looked more real.
Yeah.
And there's just ways to do that.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
And that really kind of is it for fan questions this week. Mm-hmm. Like we said, we got Jesse from New Hampshire coming up next. And guys, keep an eye out Thursday for our NWA episode where we've got former NWA champion Tim Storm, current announcer Joe Galley, and we've got our thoughts on the pay-per-view. So tune in Thursday and we'll talk to you then.
Oh, hold on. Don't forget, debut of fellow new podcast Working Fans member, Sheaf.
Oh, yeah. Sheaf is in on those interviews, too. And you guys will enjoy those interviews probably more than we did that night. So, guys, have a good week, and we'll talk to you Thursday. Bye.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Cut a promo for us, bud.
This is Jesse from New Hampshire here. And when I'm not making the 531 list, I'm actually listening to the podcast. This is the Working Fans Podcast.
We are on the Working Fans Podcast here. I have not only my closest friend in actuality, but my closest friend in terms of wrestling fan, because I think just about everything I've seen, I've heard, I've read, I've listened to, he's just about on par with just about everything else. So this is Jesse. He is a trophy husband and quite the DILF, I would say. My best friend. Jesse, you want to say hi to the fans?
How's it going, guys?
There he is.
Also known as Jesse from New Hampshire.
Also known as Jesse from New Hampshire.
We might edit out government names here.
Yeah. So Jesse, I'm trying to think now. Literally, I was just thinking about this the other day, but it's good for context. I feel like the first time we actually did meet, me and Jesse's, a long story short, me and Jesse's families, our uncles, his dad and everything, my aunt, they all knew each other in the 80s before we were born. And Jesse, I don't know how, I guess my uncle must have told me, but the first time I remember, at least I can picture it in my head, at least, I don't know if I can picture it right, my brain's taken a beating over these years. But I feel like the first time I met you, you were wearing a Hardy Boys shirt on the playground at Cohansey School in Waterford, Connecticut, if we can get that deep into government info. And I was like, holy shit, he's got a Hardy Boys shirt on everything too. But then I feel like too, I mentioned the family stuff, but either way, we kind of had the same connection right off the bat.
Yeah, definitely. I was actually going to say that's how we met.
That is it, yeah, okay.
I remember that day vividly. We met on the playground. You know, you're like, oh, wow, you got a Hardy Boys shirt on? I was like, yeah, I watch anytime I can. And at that time, I was like, beginning fandom, but I was full bore into it. Like that Hardy Boys shirt, I had a pair of black jeans that matched it.
That's right. I remember that.
I was living the gimmick. So any chance I could wear that black jeans and that T-shirt, I did. And that was almost every day, too. Like, I had that in the washer almost every day after school just so I could wash it and wear it.
Yeah, Matt and Jeff, if you hear this, you had a hell of an influence on two chubby white kids from small town Connecticut. I just want you guys to know.
And especially when you're in elementary school and you find somebody else that's a wrestling fan.
Oh, yeah.
There's a certain amount of time where it's cool, and then it's almost like, oh man, it's you and me that like something now. So you get that more of a connection.
Not to interrupt you guys either, but just because that's the one thing I can connect on with you. Like, me and AJ became friends literally for that reason.
Oh,
we were
okay.
wrestling fans in high school, been friends now 25 years later.
Right.
So, like, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, too, like I was telling you before, Dave, like, for my generation, our Hogan era and everything, too, I mean, people that stopped watching wrestling after Hogan, they were obviously still in the Hogan era, same thing with Austin. So our generation was obviously Attitude Era. This must have been what Jesse, 99, so 98, 99, whatever, somewhere in there. But obviously, yeah, the Attitude Era. So everything was boom and huge. Both shows were friggin' on fire. So not everybody that you saw is still wrestling fans today. But, I mean, Jesse, I think, still is my closest friend at that point with the family connection, obviously, too. But definitely a point of where, yeah, I can remember a couple other fans like that. But in terms of people that stayed along the whole way, then, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely remember, like, all of elementary school, then partially in the beginning of middle school. That's when everybody died off. And then it was like, wow, you guys are still watching that shit? And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, where did you guys go with it? You know?
Yeah, and then I got into a little bit before, like I said before on the show too, a little bit before. Like I said, I can't remember my first memory and stuff, but I don't know. I think too, there's people that definitely stayed on after the Attitude Era boom, but that's a whole other discussion about that killing people off, but yeah.
Yeah, I could pinpoint exactly for you guys when I became a fan.
Oh, wow. When was that?
All right, it was the summer of 2000, actually. Mind you, at this point, I have some sort of recollection of wrestling on TV, but I was more into, at the time, and still am, baseball and NASCAR. And, like, for toy-wise, I was into, like, Matchbox cars, like Power Rangers, Batman figures, and stuff like that. Anyways, I'm over at my aunt's one night during the summer. Then all of a sudden, her and my cousin are like, oh, wow, it's 9 o'clock, Raw's on. I'm like, wait, what? What's Raw? And they're like, oh, you'll watch. And then they put it on, and I'm like, holy crap, what is this? I've never seen this before. And it was like a Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian match, and I'm like, this is crazy. And ever since then, I've been hooked. And I remember the first pay-per-view I ever watched live was actually that summer, too, was SummerSlam. You guys can attest to this. That card top to bottom is phenomenal.
Right.
That was the first ever pay-per-view I ever saw, and I'm like, wow, this is something I really need to, fixate on now instead of, everything else.
Yeah, and for me, too, that's, quality-wise, WWF in 2000 was friggin' outstanding, like the roster and everything. I think one thing, at least, that for 2000 era, like, I don't know, just between, everybody can kind of agree. For me, the Attitude Era kind of ends at Mania 17 with the Austin turn. But I feel like with the Attitude, like 98, 99 is it. Once it gets to 2000, you like the Radicals in there. Austin starts taking more time off, stuff like that. It's definitely not the same it was like if you started like 98, 99.
Well, before we even get into that, let's kind of discuss the gap in fanship we have here. Because Dave's a little older than me, but I'd say we kind of caught on in the Hogan, like early WCW when it was coming over from Crockett Promotions.
Right.
And you guys are about 10 years younger, so your Hogan moment would be Brett and kind of early, just before the Attitude Era, would I guess?
For me, Hogan, the first time I saw Hogan was 95 WCW, like before the NWO stuff. Like
So
when he
did
was
you
more
see
thinned
him
out.
turn heel?
I mean, not actually as it happened, but I remember like the NWO story. Like yeah, I remember the whole vague. Like I remember.
So you just knew Hogan as a heel?
Right, and I mean, I was still young enough. I mean, I would have been like 3, going on 4, stuff like that. But I got to a point where I kind of clicked with stuff to be like, oh shit, like Razor Ramon and Diesel, like I just saw them here. That's this. Meanwhile, being a kid growing up, I was renting all sorts of tapes from Blockbuster where I would watch like Mania 6. And then later on, I'd watch like actual TV, and I'd like,
Yeah,
I would
you were
think
deep-
it should have still been Hogan and Warrior, but I was like, I didn't. I know
Yeah,
that
you
was,
were
like,
deep diving at like
6
5
years before that. Was like, so I was like, wait, like what is this guy like?
And that's crazy because I remember Hogan turning heel, and that was about when I stopped watching wrestling because to me the NWO just got too big and it just got too messy. And at that time, I also just kind of fell out with wrestling. So it's kind of weird how my falling off with wrestling is where you guys picked up. Now, you had referenced drunkenly at Dodge Stadium one time and on the podcast that you and Jesse used to wrestle in the backyard and
Jesus
almost cripple
Christ
each other.
Almighty.
Eventually, we're
yeah,
going to
that
get Jesse and Sheaf's grandma Mary face to face so we can talk about the coming up of the wrestling in the backyard. But tell us a little bit about those times because you guys almost grew up during the backyard wrestling craze.
Right.
We did it, but it was just stupid as... Oh, you didn't?
No.
I wrestle people. I've pile driven my brother multiple times.
Oh, yeah.
He's choked me out. He pile drove me on a fucking suitcase.
We did
was
shit
wild.
like that. Yeah, we didn't have like cards or anything like that. Or anything
But
like that,
Sheaf, you warned a young, chubby kid at Dodge Stadium not to get fucked up and cripple your friends in the backyard. What did you guys do in the backyard?
Jesse, I just gotta think for it because I mean, for me the most memories of it is just fucking. This is like ECW was on TNN, the FMW tapes are in America, and like
You say that like it's normal, like every 8th grader is gonna get an FMW tape.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah,
But
honestly.
that's just the shit that was like going on to that point.
Where did you get the FMW tapes?
So I'm gonna let Jesse speak on this after too. His perspective of it. It was either Suncoast,
Okay.
or Strawberries, one of those.
Because I picked up one of those FMW. It was the Insane Clown Posse, the Juggalo.
Oh, that's
Yeah, the Stranglemania,
Oh,
right?
that's the
Which
the
annoyed
kid
the
with
fuck out of AJ, by the way.
What?
He says
Oh,
to me,
we're gonna have
Oh, we are.
words about this. Stranglemania is my high school.
Oh, love it.
Oh,
So he
man.
says it to me. He goes, "Yeah, all they do is swear." And I'm like, "Well, so who gives a fuck?" And he goes, "Well, it's like it's all they do." And I didn't get it. And then I played it. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, they really do." But it's one of those things like
Yeah,
Pulp
right.
Fiction. When to me, like I liked it, but then I watched it again and I fucking like it
No,
more.
when you
and
watch
I
the
fucking
power
love
bomb
it.
where they drop him on his neck and it goes, ew, back, ew, back.
Is that the second one?
I don't know
Like
which
the
one it
Hall
was.
and Nash thing with Eric Bischoff, where it just freaking during the NWO promo, it like
Oh.
rewinds them power bombing him off the stage.
Yeah.
Promo.
Oh my god.
But yeah, get back to your backyard
Yeah,
wrestling
sorry.
thing.
Oh,
we went
sorry,
off on a
sorry,
tangent.
Yeah.
But no, I just remember
Juggalos.
right, doing a lot of hardcore shit like that. Like I want Jesse to speak his memories because later on I had a trampoline and that didn't last long in either of my mom's or dad's houses because shit was just so beyond reckless.
What was the worst move you guys pulled on each other? Canadian
it wasn't-
Destroyers?
I want Jesse to speak because we can't keep talking over. I want his perspective first.
Back to the FMW thing. This is like when Sheaf and I first started hanging out. So I'm over at his house, right? And mind you, this is like peak wrestling figure era too. So
Oh yeah, we gotta talk about figures after. Yeah.
I'm bringing over all my wrestling figures. You know, we're playing, we're bullshitting. And then he's like, oh, I gotta show you this. And then he puts on FMW, and I'm like, what is this?
We're in
And I'm
second, third grade or something.
like, I'm like, what is going on here? And I was like, I wasn't really like, I wouldn't say scared, but I was more like oddly weirded out, but still wanted to watch. It was like an R-rated movie that I wasn't supposed to watch, but I kept watching even because I knew my dad wasn't there, you know?
Right. Yeah, it's like that first tape I remember getting, that May 5th, 96 show, where they got that cactus match, and like first watching, he was the only guy I recognized, and I don't know if I knew who Terry Funk was by that point, but he was in the main event. So I'm like, oh, that's Cactus Jack, that's cool. 10 minutes later, he gets thrown through like glass and barbed wire, and I'm like, this is the goddamn craziest fucking shit. My grandma is watching with me going, what the? My grandma, she was like around my grandparents, that's all, we'll get her on the show, but she was like the Killer Kowalski Bruno era. The Attitude Era, enough for her was like Howard Stern. She's seeing motherfuckers getting put through glass and shit. No wonder she was fucking swigging Captain Morgan like that.
She's a goddamn saint to watch people go through glass and be like, oh, this is good for the youngin'.
Yeah. Wow. So either way, so
my dad won't watch two Japanese guys beat the fuck out of each other. He'd be down for that.
Takes him back, probably. Place he doesn't want to be.
Get him, Tojo.
So Jesse, so another thing you mentioned was the figures. That was a big thing we bonded over too. I mean, like you guys had like back for like LJN Hasbro stuff back. Like I'm talking crazy figure hits.
I had the big rubber fucking dudes.
Right. See, I had the shitty ones that you'd push the back down and they jump.
Yeah.
But then they morphed into the slightly alright ones.
But by that,
yep, the old Hasbros. And I mean, I had a bunch of wrestling figures. Scott had a ton of them.
My neighbor was an elderly woman. She grew up in that same neighborhood, or not grew up, but either way, lived in the same neighborhood next to where my grandma's house is. Her grandson, when I was growing up a wrestling fan, had a bunch of old Hasbros, and I don't know, I must have been maybe like, I don't know, 4 or 5 or something, and they gave me a huge fucking bag of them and shit with a ring and stuff. So I was, meanwhile, I played too. This was like, I don't know, after 2 when they started making ladders for figures and all this crazy shit. And I'm like, oh, here's a Roddy Piper. You fucking press him and he jumps halfway across the room all shit. I'm like, what the frig is this? Like, but yeah.
That's funny how like some of our early wrestling figures were hand-me-downs. Because I got one from my cousin, R.I.P. Mike Miller. But it was the old Road Warriors. I don't know if it was an old AWA one.
They had
like
it had to be the Yeah, Jesse knows.
It had like the squishy head, but like the solid body where you can move the arms. And I remember, I didn't even know that he was a wrestling fan, but I had Hawk and Animal from the time I was like 4 or 5.
Yeah, if you were a kid like that, you didn't have them. You're fucking up. No.
So what are your most memorable toys between the two of you from your whole time? Like, what's the prize?
I remember getting my first wrestling figure. I was at Toys R Us with my dad, and there was a Triple H on the shelf. Because back then, besides the Hardy Boys, like Triple H was like the end-all, be-all. That was my guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember getting a Triple H, and he came with a table, and all I did was keep on setting up Triple H on top of the TV and letting him fall right through the table. And I did that freaking 100 times, and I was the happiest kid ever.
And we were
8 years old.
And we were just talking about this. That Triple H, it didn't even look like Triple H. It looked like friggin' Jerry Lynn in the face. Like, what the heck is this about?
It looked like a smoked out Jerry Lynn, clean shaven.
Would Jerry Lynn be smoking though?
Yeah, something definitely that's not good for his lungs.
But I don't know. For me, the first 2 figures I remember having, I guess those WCW like the bulky ones, like the Sting and the Vader. I remember those were like my first 2 ones. So those were a lot of fun. But then after, I'd have to say like the later WWF ones where they started making like tables and ladders and shit, like the Hardys, all that. The ECW figures were fun. Like, yeah. Having a Sabu action figure.
They ever make a New Jack action figure?
Yeah, and I remember. Yes, they did.
Wow.
If you guys ever listen to Hawkins and Ryder's Wrestling Figure podcast, there's like a few different New Jack ones because Hawkins is a big ECW guy, if you guys didn't know that. And he has, I think, every single variant and every single figure ever made from ECW. And the last person he needs to complete his autograph collection as New Jack, and you can't ever see New Jack because when the hell is New Jack going to show up to a TV taping?
Yeah, where's his NXT managerial run?
You know what's funny is
Can you
they have
imagine New Jack and the Street Profits?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
They have New Jack dolls, but Al Snow's the only doll that was ever banned from Walmart.
The head?
The head. Yeah.
I
It's
remember that.
gonna cause people to want to beat their wives, apparently.
Right.
Yeah.
I think for now I got one. I got a couple old ones from Jesse's game. Me and Jesse have gone back and forth with so many of them over the years. It's like we got joint custody of them. But there's one that I have where it's like I bought this. I don't know, maybe like I can't even remember. Sometime in the last 10 years. But I got a Hayabusa figure in the box.
What?
I paid about like 60.
How many yen? You paid yen.
Yeah, right. But it was like 60 or 70 bucks.
They're
It was
more
a whole-
expensive now, if you guys are wondering. They're upwards of like 80 to 100 or more.
Yeah, the Japanese figure community. You don't know beauty till you see a friggin' Jushin Liger statuette.
Do you have it?
I know. Oh, Hayabusa I have. It's in the
okay.
box, but yeah, it's pretty sick. They make a bunch of them when you look at it too. They make some really cool shit. But yeah, that's probably the most one that's like prized, I guess.
Now, moving from your guys' childhood to growing up, you mentioned Jesse as being instrumental in bringing the belts into the BBPL.
Right.
Jesse, what was kind of your thoughts about the early BBPL, and what made you think about introducing belts?
Well, I remember like our friendship at the time, it wasn't really strained, but it was kind of removed. Like it was a little bit after high school. I was coming up to New Hampshire a lot before I eventually moved up here. You know, I'd come, you know, I'd be at the house or I'd be up here and whatnot. Anyways, go over to Chiefs and he's like, yeah, we play beer pong every weekend now. And I'm like, oh, well, yeah, I mean, I played beer pong all the time in New Hampshire. So he's like, yeah, we kind of set it up like, you know, like, oh, we face this person, you face that person, kind of like a tournament. And then, you know, we kind of
Everyone
like
could work a man.
That's right.
like almost like a wrestling aspect on it. And I'm like, oh, all right. So then we started doing that. And then I remember, I can't remember exactly, but I'm like, oh, we should, you know, I still have belts, like the foam jack specific ones from back in the day. I'm like, I have those, we should play for those so we can crown champions and all that. I'm not sure exactly that's how it went, but I want to say that's because there was a lot of, back then and still now, there was a lot of beers and a lot of stuff smoked, so I can't really remember exactly what the conversation was.
Yeah,
But-
all we were smoking were crushed up TNA DVDs. But no,
We'll get to the hell ride from a couple Christmases ago eventually.
One thing I want to touch on, though, at least, I mean, I know Jesse wasn't a big Jesse wasn't a WCW guy at all, at least then, too, towards the end of things.
Wow.
But one thing I want to touch
towards
on,
the end of things. I forget what
Well, in
WCW
general-
you guys had.
Right. At least being a fan after things, discovering new stuff. It wasn't until, like, I would say, end of middle, like 7th, 8th grade when TNA started popping off big and, like, started seeing indie
Oh, yeah,
stuff.
holy shit.
Yeah, we couldn't have got through 2005 without AJ Styles. I'll say it like
2000,
that.
2005 TNA, I will put up against a lot of different years of WWE, and you can't show me, like, better cards, better pay-per-views. I mean, it's arguable because it's a mix of, like, WWE, WCW has-beens trying to, like, put together good stuff, but to me, it's TNA 2005 is the gold.
Right.
Now, Jesse, previously on a podcast, I had told a story about you trying to buy, or you wanting to buy a UWF belt, and I botched the story to no end. Can you tell the full story?
Is this
And
the
just-
one in Philly?
Oh, it's the one in Philly.
Oh, man.
Alright, so let me backtrack a little bit. When we knew we were going to Philly for the Wrestling Icons convention at the 2300 Arena, the former ECW arena, I told Chief, I said, if we're going to this convention, I think I'm finally going to pull the trigger and buy a replica belt. And he's like, yeah, I mean, you should totally do it. I mean, you know, you could probably find one that's inexpensive, whatnot. And I'm like, well, shit, you know, let's see what goes on. So we get there, and we're looking at all the different tables. Mind you, this convention is wild. Not only the people there, like A to Z, you can name like crazy different wrestlers that are there, but like the guys that are selling old wrestling figures for cheap and all that. So So I come across this one vendor. It's actually a couple vendors, and they've got like old autograph, like Cauliflower Ollie autograph pictures of different guys and all that. And I'm like, oh wow, this is kind of nuts. Then over to the side, you have a replica NWA TV title and a replica UWF TV title, and I'm like, wow. So I asked the guy, I'm like, so what's the prices on these? And he told me, I think one was like $360 and the one was like $400. I couldn't tell you which one was which.
I thought it was the actual belt though, not the replica, right? Wasn't it the actual title itself?
It looked like it. I mean, the way it was aged.
Yeah, I think it was.
Like, I'm like, this could have been TV. Like, this could have been like NWA used. But anyways.
Yeah, I think it was the NW one because it was the red strap. I feel like that was the actual title, but I don't know for sure though. But what were you saying?
So anyways, the guy comes up that owns the belt because he was off doing whatever the fuck. And his buddy goes, oh yeah, this guy wants to buy the belt off you. And this guy, mind you, looks like a freaking one of the Dawson brothers from NWA Power.
Right. I remember that, yeah.
And in my best impression of him, he was like, oh, fake fuck, brother.
Yeah.
He almost kind of sounded like Jim Cornette, but a little bit higher.
He was so appreciative. Yeah.
And he's like, oh, goddamn, thank, brother. He was like, hell yeah, you're going to buy this belt off me? Oh, thank you. And this guy's like shaking I don't even know this guy, and he's shaking my hand.
Yeah.
And he's like hugging me. Right. And he's like, the belt's yours, you got the cash. And I cash in hand, right to give to him and everything. And I'm like, all right, man, let's see this thing. And he goes, all right, but the only thing is this. And he picks up the belt, and he folds back the main plate. The main plate's only half on.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa. And he goes, what? He goes, all you have to do is super glue it or, he's like, you got to super glue it, you got to tack it back on. Like, you got to tack it back on, like, weld it. I'm like, whoa.
That's right.
You just got to weld it.
No deal. I'm like, no deal. And he goes, oh, man, are you kidding me? Mind you, this guy had my fucking cash already in his hand, and I'm holding the belt. And I'm like, no, we are not doing this. I'm like, I'm sorry. And at that point, I'm thinking, all right, that UWF belt is mine. I mean, that one's a little bit beat up, but I'm like, I can't pass on that. Then once I realized that one was signed by One Man Gang, I'm like, oh, well, shit. I mean, I didn't really want any of them. And those are the only two belts that were for sale there, so the guy was really bummed out that, I didn't want to buy it. And I'm surprised he actually gave me my fucking money back. If not, one of those Philly police guys that were walking around would have fucking known about it. But anyways.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't get carnied out of that money. You almost got fucked there.
Yeah, I was with him. I remember that.
Yeah, because I was infatuated with it. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, I could tote around this fucking belt like I'm Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard. I'm like, I am fucking, at this point too, I'm like, I'm all revved up on the day too because I saw this belt. We walked by Tony Atlas. I'm wearing a Stone Cold shirt, and Tony Atlas is going, what? And he's and Tony Atlas trying to con me out of a fucking $5 picture with him. That's how cheap it was, I think. It was like $5 to get a picture with Tony Atlas. I'm like, God damn. I'm like, no, bud, thanks.
That's not a bad picture, considering.
Yeah, anyways, I ended up getting a T-shirt from some random guy. And then I ended up getting pictures of like Scott Steiner and the Steiner brothers and Terry Funk. But all in all, it was a good convention.
Nice. Now, we haven't I don't think we brought it up yet, but you're actually a dad. And what is it like to be a dad and a wrestling fan? Do you think your son's going to get into wrestling? Are you going to try and kind of push him towards it? Is there going to be any wrestling that you're like, we don't watch that shit here?
Well, I got to backtrack a little bit. My wife, it doesn't matter what I put on for wrestling. Oh, you're watching this again? And I have to explain to her, no, this is new. Like, for example, every week, Tuesday, 6:05, NWA Power, watching on YouTube. It's amazing. I'll put it on Tuesday nights, and she's like, oh, you're watching this again? How many times have you seen this? I'm like, how many times do I have to tell you, honey? NWA Power. It's a new episode every single week. And she was like, oh. She goes, well, how long is it? I'm like, an hour. Just like last week and the week before that. Oh, okay.
I told him he's on the Power theme.
This is going on our NWA theme week, right?
Yeah, he's in the Power themed episode.
Tell my wife to shut up.
NXT, I would definitely say those are probably the top 2 shows going right now.
Yeah, I mean, we're actually going to include your interview. We just interviewed Tim Storm, and we're about to interview Joe Galley tonight. So it's really opportune that you're kind of putting over NWA.
Yeah, I mean, it's, like I said, it's arguably the best show up against NXT. I'm not really high on AEW anymore, but I think that's a conversation that I'm better suited to have with Jim Cornette than anybody else.
Yeah, he's a legitimate father, yeah.
Well, goddamn. But what is kind of your son gravitating towards at this moment? And, like, what have you had him watch? Like, has he watched the Dome show yet?
Well, with his early months, because he's only a year and a half old, with his early months, if he'd wake me up in the middle of the night and he needed a bottle, like this is like 2 or 3 months in, and he'd keep me up like early hours of the morning, like 2 to 4 a.m., around there, I'd throw on the WWE Network and be like, all right, bud, if you're keeping me up, then we're going to watch some. And I'd throw on like random ECW pay-per-views, random NWA pay-per-views, you know. And, you know, he'd sit there just because of the movement and the colors and all that. But, you know, I'd throw that on. I mean, sometimes I watch him if I have, like, YouTube on, and if I'm watching, like, a shoot clip or something, which he shouldn't really be watching, honestly, the shoot clips, because they swear a lot. But he'd sit on the floor and watch that. I mean, if he's awake, he'll watch, like, NXT and all that. He'll sit on the floor and watch it. He's actually inherited, like, a lot of Sheaf and Ice figures from when we were kids, and, you know, he kind of plays with them, you know, kind of chews on them, whatever. This past Christmas...
Chewing on Benoit.
There's a Benoit figure?
There's tons of them. There's a dozen. Oh, yeah.
Hey, the kid's got to get revenge, right? Take one back for the youngins.
That's a rabbit hole you don't want to go down, Joe, believe me.
Oh, I've opened the door on this podcast, and I've been told to shut the fuck
Benoit
up.
action figures, yeah, there's dozens, but... All right.
But yeah, this past Christmas, Sheaf actually got him a couple of bleacher creatures. They're kind of like the old wrestling buddies, but smaller.
Oh, wow.
And they're like plush toys. And he got a Finn Balor and Rey Mysterio. And that's probably his 2 favorite Mattel figures, too, that I've bought him. Like, for some reason, he likes... I think it's like he gravitates to, like, stuff that's orange. And the Rey Mysterio I got him is like WCW era Rey Mysterio, and he's all in all orange gear. And yeah, he likes those. He plays around with those. But other than that, I mean, he'll pretty much watch whatever's on TV, which is kind of scary because at this point, his brain's like a sponge. So whatever I put on and watch for TV and he's around, he's going to watch it. But yeah, he's pretty much seen it all already. I don't know if he can recollect it or be able to recollect it when he's older. But yeah, he's seen some pretty iconic matches already.
Can we put Jesse on with Joe Galley?
Little Jax from New Hampshire is going to be in his kindergarten classes telling kids about Hayabusa. Like, hey, have you seen the great Sasuke? This guy jumps in a barrel and just crushes guys.
He's going to be telling kids about Chris Benoit and all
Oh.
that. And
that'll go over well in a 6-year-old, 7-year-old classroom.
Oh, yeah, because those kids that left wrestling in middle school, when Sheaf and I were still watching it every week, I'll be like, oh, yeah, that's the guy that killed himself and his family and all that. I used to watch him versus Chris Jericho in the ladder match and all that.
That's wild that's going to be Benoit's legacy when he was such a good worker. But obviously, if you go out of life on that note, I mean, it's going to be a stain on you.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of fans like to focus on what he did at the end of his life. But then there's a lot more fans that like to focus on the actual worker and the actual, you know, character and all that. Like, I still find myself enjoying, like, his WWE stuff. I'll put on, like, his Japan stuff once in a while, especially his ECW stuff. I mean, the guy broke Sabu's neck.
Yeah, that was crucial. Yeah, that was pretty nuts.
One of many necks.
I actually remember watching that with AJ.
I mean, that's one of my earliest ECW memories. I remember watching, like, a videotape of Sheaf's, probably, and, like, they just replayed over and over, like, Sabu just getting dropped on his head.
Damn,
It
well,
wasn't the last time.
Jesse, we hate to wrap this up so early. We're going to have you again on the show, but is there anything, do you want to plug where to find you on Twitter or anything to the people?
All right, I'm on Twitter at Jesse from NH23. I'm also on Facebook. I mean, you can add me on Facebook, but I don't usually talk wrestling too much on Facebook.
Yeah, don't blow up his shit, people. Come on.
That's right.
Yeah. Facebook's usually just for the family now, so they can see pictures of Jackson. But I'm on Instagram. I post once in a while. I'm always sharing a bunch of different pictures from a bunch of different people. Instagram's like, besides Twitter, it's got to be like the forefront of wrestling fans now with all the different pictures and videos that people share. It's mind-blowing what you can see on Instagram compared to Twitter.
Honestly.
Twitter's more people bitching about wrestling and talking about it. Instagram's more people sharing pictures and memories and videos.
That's right.
Well, excellent. We're glad to have you on, and excellent, man.
You did great, buddy.
We're going to have you on again.
All right, so that wraps us up for this week. Thank you again for listening to the Working Fans Podcast. So as always, you can find us on Twitter at FansWorking. Our Facebook page is Working Fans Wrestling Pod. We have email where you can reach out to us and let us know what you think also. That's workingfanswrestlingpod@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram, workingfanswrestling_pod. And then as always, please continue to listen to us on Anchor.fm, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, all your major platforms. If you're following us on Apple Podcasts, which we are also on now, and YouTube, please make sure you subscribe and give us a 5-star rating. It helps us bring you these podcasts where we get to talk to you and talk with you every week.